Hi, everyone. This is Sari Beth Rosenberg and Vanessa Branda here, the Polytoxic Podcast. We normally give you all the toxic topics of the week, but today is a very special and important edition all about the LA fire that's just been ravaging Los Angeles County. And unfortunately, Vanessa has been just dealing with this, evacuating, and she's here to give us a firsthand account of what she's seeing because there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation out there, and we thought it was really important for Vanessa to hop on here. And this is going to be a different format. I'm going to actually interview you, which that's what I normally do. I normally interview people. So I just think it's really important that we have a super authentic session this time talking about what's going on. So, first of all, just very basic, simple question. I know a lot of people who follow you and me and the podcast are wondering just something really basic, which is like, are you okay, Vanessa? Like, how are you doing? Are you okay?
Physically, I'm fine. I'm okay. My life was not in immediate danger at any point, but mentally, I don't think any of the 4 million people that live in LA are okay right now.
No, of course not. No one's okay. Whether you lost your home, whether you lost loved ones, pets, if you had to temporarily or forever evacuate what you call your home, even just being a witness to this, I can't even imagine. So let's just break it down. Um, we're recording tonight. It's 6:30 p.m. your time, 9:30 my time. 6:30, right?
Yeah.
What's the status of things right now?
So I am located in Los Feliz, which is considered like East LA. I do want to be clear though that that is not Pasadena, which is the most east part of LA, which is where the Eaton fire is and some of the worst damage that's happening besides Pacific Palisades. So I'm west of them. And in my immediate area, I came back today for the first time. I had evacuated down to Redondo Beach, which is south of Los Angeles, and it was not in the red zone at all, but it's quite close to Pacific Palisades, so we could see all of the smoke cover. But I came up from there south this morning, and I was like really scared to start coming up here actually because I wasn't sure what I was going to see or what the state of things were going to be, and in my mind, I was comparing it to when I was leaving the city the other night. But I was actually pleasantly surprised with the drive up this morning. There is a lot of smoke cover. So there's smoke hanging out. But the way that I go home is up the 101 freeway. So I drove through downtown. Silver Lake is on my side of town. Echo
Oh
Park is on
yeah.
my side of town. Hollywood Hills, West Hollywood is on the other side of the freeway. So that's where the Sunset Fire was, but that's
Yeah.
actually really close to where I live. I could see flames and smoke from that.
Oh wait,
Um,
so you could see the flames and smoke when we were talking actually. So just backing up, 2 nights ago, I think you and I were on the
it was
phone.
Tuesday. I can't even remember what day
Wednesday,
it
I
is
don't
at
know.
this
Today,
point.
at some point this week, you were telling me about the map that everyone's using, and you sent me a screenshot. You were like on the blue dot, and then you and I were both tracking the Hollywood Hills fire. I've been to LA so many times, but I didn't really think about how close, because you drive everywhere. It's hard for me to, because as a New Yorker, I think about walking distance, but I didn't realize how close you actually are to Hollywood Hills. So it makes sense you had to evacuate.
Yeah. So that evening we were on the phone and remember I was like, I have to go. I have to go right
Yeah.
now. So
I was like, where are you going? Oh, right, right, a fire.
yeah, I was staying pretty calm at the time because I
You
wasn't
were.
getting evacuation notices or anything like that. I knew that the Sunset Fire was close, but I didn't know the severity of it, and I wasn't getting notifications to leave yet. So I kept, looking out my windows, and none of my neighbors were leaving yet. And so I
Yeah.
figured I'm not going to get hysterical, and I didn't want to get on the roads unless I had to, and I wasn't sure if we were going to be evacuated. When
Hmm.
I started seeing my neighbors running out and packing their cars, I got really nervous. So I got off the phone
Right.
with you.
Yeah.
I went out and I ran into my one girl neighbor that like I speak to on a regular basis.
Mhm.
And she's like, what the hell's going on? I'm like, I don't know. Let's go out front and look. So I went out front and there's people filming and I'm like, what are they filming? And so I started looking up towards the hill because out in my front yard, the hills where the Sunset Fire was happening, it was like diagonal to me uphill.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I see the smoke and the flames, and then I was like, it's time to go immediately now.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
already pre-packed, but
Good.
and I don't know like really how well I did in the
Yeah. Yeah. Vanessa was like, so I forgot all my comfortable clothes, which I think we would all like, right? Because how often do you pack to evacuate a fire? So I would have done the same thing. Like, well, you were saying it was actually good reasoning because Vanessa, you were telling me that you brought jeans because it's like if you engage with a fire, they protect your skin the most. But like when you're then sitting and lounging and just trying to like recover from that crazy drive, you did not want to be wearing jeans, right?
no, and I mean, I think a bit of advice that I would give anyone who lives in Los Angeles County right now, pre-pack and pre-pack
Yeah.
well. And uh, in those times of emergency, I was a bit hysterical talking to someone on the phone, and their advice to me was almost everything is replaceable. And I can't say how true that is. And I'm
Yeah.
not minimizing anybody's
No, no.
belongings or their homes or their picture. I'm not minimizing any of that, but that bit of advice kind of put some things into perspective for me. Also, I have a small vehicle, so I
Yeah.
try to be calculated in the things that I pack. So I very obviously, grab my passport and my documents and stuff. But I probably should have done a what is in my
Yeah. What get ready.
evacuation bag because it
I,
was literally the most random shit. I like grabbed my Biden Christmas card because that was
oh,
something that's not
yeah.
replaceable.
It's
But
not.
yeah, so
It's like a
I,
get ready. It's like a get ready with me Ellie Fire edition. I mean, TikTok, which RIP soon, is such an there's so many unserious people on there, but it's just how people cope with trauma. They do it with humor. And I saw a lot of TikToks that were like, get ready with me. And it was like one girl packing like her three designer purses and her like fancy Montclair coat. It's like the things that you grab. And then I actually saw Whitney Cummings doing one and she was like, this is all my stuff. But she's like, which I makes me like her. She was like, I'm gonna leave all the equipment in my studio, but she was grabbing fan stuff
that
that
video.
fans gave her. These times of crisis, as we unfortunately already know from living through a pandemic, really, first of all, bring out your individual true colors, and even more so because you kind of know who you are, hopefully at this stage in your life, brings out other people's true colors. And I feel like I'm curious to hear what you think about that because I know like the only other thing I can compare it to is the pandemic here in New York City. I was I was like, hold up alone here. Like everyone pieced out. I'm a public school teacher here in New York City. So I had to stay that crazy week when everyone got
Yeah,
out. So
I
by the
remember.
time I was like, hey, does anyone want to take me in? Everyone's like, you're corroded. And they were probably right, you know? So I was stuck here and it was interesting to see who was there for me, just like emotionally, like if they couldn't be here me physically. But I'm curious, like, was I mean, they're different tragedies, but did you feel a similar vibe during this? And which, by the way, let's remind everyone this continues. There are fires still going
They're
on.
not all the way contained.
Yeah.
And as we know, that can change at any minute. The wind has a lot of effect on what happens because it can just pick up a fire and take it miles in a second. So no, it's definitely not over.
Yeah.
But what I am really pleasantly surprised and happy to see is while LA has this terrible rap, especially online, of
Yeah.
people liking to say horrible things about people that live in Los Angeles. The
Boo.
the response that I'm seeing today, and just in my immediate friend group, is Angelonians springing into action and helping each other, making donations, helping people evacuate.
Ugh.
And in this time of crisis, just seeing everybody come together like that, is like one positive thing, but I think what I'm kind of having the hardest time with right now is one, watching all of the videos and content come out on social media saying that this is God is punishing us
Oh,
and God is answering the prayers. And my big problem with
that's
that I
right.
have with that statement is God is answering our prayers. So I'm curious if that means that these Christian people are praying for
Right. Right.
harm and death and destruction to come upon us, because that
Right.
doesn't sound very Christian to me. So
Um,
I'm having a hard time looking at that kind of stuff online.
yeah.
And it goes the same way with when things happen like hurricanes in Florida. And you just see the most
Horrible.
disgusting people come out of the woodwork to make snide and nasty comments about places that they likely vacation at. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and they're constantly following celebrities and stuff from people in Los Angeles. But another thing that I'm having a problem with is people saying they're all rich. Like
Yeah, like if they can
they can
deal. Yeah.
I want to be very honest here. Like, yes, we do have a very large portion of wealthy people that live here. However, Los Angeles is made up of 4 million people. Four
Yep.
million. That's more than a lot of states, actually. And not all of us are celebrities. You know
No.
how I live in a small,
Yeah.
modest apartment. I work really hard, and Los Angeles is this melting pot of extremely hardworking, passionate people in all industries. And it's really disturbing to me to see people just saying that it's going to be so easy for us to build back. And I know this isn't going to be popular because I did a Blue Sky post about this. Celebrities are allowed to cry about losing their
Yes.
property as well. I saw Whitney, the girl you were referencing earlier. I
Yeah,
am
Whitney,
spacing.
Whitney
Yes.
Cummings. Whitney
I
Cummings.
saw
Yeah.
her video of her crying and people were
Yeah.
dragging her. And I have a real
Yeah.
problem. I have a real problem with that
Well,
because I
yeah.
don't care how much money she has or how rich she is. She worked for that money, but also that's like a loss for her. And just because she's a celebrity and has some money, it doesn't minimize
And,
her
and
personal experience.
and these are the first people to be lining up. Like, I always see in New York, when celebrities do Broadway shows, they're the first ones to stand out there, you
Yep.
know, after these actors and performers, are on stage for hours, or even if it's an hour, and then stand out there and sign autographs, which is they love doing. They love meeting with the fans. Like, but these are the first people to be standing out there excited to meet their favorite celebrities. And then on the other hand, they are dragging them for mourning the loss of their property. You know, uh, and again, we're not here to ride for celebrities. I'm just writing for human
No,
beings. Like, have some empathy. Like, and the
exactly.
majority of the people who end up making it in the entertainment industry, they're not nepo babies, right? And even if
No,
they
it
are, they
took
have
years and years and
yes,
years for most of them to reach success. And a lot of people that live here that are trying to be actors or musicians or whatever, they are not making a lot of money, and they're
right,
making this city run. They are running our
right.
bars and restaurants, and they all have jobs too, and their lives and their belongings and the way that they're processing this is no less than anybody else. I
Yeah,
also want to say I've gotten a number of extremely nasty comments on my posts.
really,
Specifically, one man who went to
really.
every single one of my platforms. Mind you, I've never noticed this screen name before, and I've been creating content for 5 years. I've
Okay.
never noticed this person before, right? So
Mhm.
I wouldn't call this a fan or something like that. This man went to every single one of my social media profiles and made
Yeah.
comments that says she is not in danger. She is not unsafe. She is lying. And I just want to say for the record,
Wow.
nobody knows where I live. Nobody
Right.
knows what kind of danger I'm in, but what kind of mental illness do you have that you are going to go to someone's page like mine who's trying to share information, trying
Right.
to be as open as possible about all of this stuff, and claim that they are lying. Like, I just think
Listen.
it's horrible, because no, while maybe the fires of hell are not raining down upon my apartment right now, I went
Right
into the
now.
apocalypse to pick up my girlfriend and her dog and get us both out of the city
Right.
in a city where 4 million people are trying to leave at once on very limited roads. So
Yeah.
I honestly don't want to hear anyone say anything about minimizing anybody's experience, because it
Oh,
doesn't matter if your house burned down or if it didn't and you're just having smoke damage in your lungs. All of us are processing this in a different way, and it is no one's place to judge how anybody is doing that, whether it's with comedy, whether it's crying into their phone. What if
yeah.
that was the last video she ever posted? You know what I'm saying? But
Exactly.
it's just like all of
Yeah.
us have the right to process this and share what we're processing however we want. And am I think people should do more of that. They should be
Yes.
honest and authentic with what's going on. And if you're being judgmental of that, you can come back to me when your city is on fire.
Yeah.
That's my response to
Period.
that.
Period.
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 And also that's again, that's the problem with social media because
Yeah.
that man would never have the fucking nerve, I don't know how to
No,
curse, to come up to you and say that. Ever,
no.
not in a million years. He would be so lucky as to be in your space, to be honest. So and we can, and the next time we talk, hopefully when you get out of this disaster, we'll talk more about what's going on with these social media platforms more in depth. But that is one of the big problems, I think, and this is why, in a way, like I know we're always going to find a new platform to communicate, but in many ways, these platforms like Meta, just encourage that type of horrid behavior. And as we all know, the news this week, they're no longer going to fact check and they're making it more unsafe. It's already been unsafe for women and trans people and the LGBTQ community at large and Black and brown people. And it's just going to be intolerable on there. And, during natural disasters like this, the fact that anyone can take the time and spread disinformation or just have the nerve to comment on anyone's experience, I mean, maybe we all should just start like meeting in person again because that man sure as hell would not have the nerve to say that to you. So that being said, can I one tick speaking of social media, but which
Yep.
I still indulge in, I saw so many of these, and it's probably just because it's my algorithm. So this is going to reveal a little bit about me. But so much of my algorithm, and I'm probably yours as well, I'm going to guess, but I don't want to make assumptions, has been women posting things like uh redoing the roster after seeing what, this is for specifically women who date men, the unfortunate women who like men like us. And it was basically like, changing the roster after seeing who actually reaches out to you or not. Because people really do, like I like how we framed this in the beginning, people really do share their true colors. And I noticed there was a lot of posts of women supporting other women. Like you did, you rallied together with your female neighbor and you have each other's back. I'm a little jealous, but I'm in New York. You told me that she's your pandemic buddy now. I mean, I guess I can't be yours because I don't live there, but I'm a little jelly.
Right.
Did you see those TikToks as well? Like, I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
I definitely saw those TikToks, and it wasn't
Yeah.
just one or two. It was a lot. And I think on our TikToks specifically, we obviously don't have the same algorithm, but I
Yeah.
see a lot of posts from women, and kind of a common theme of what I'm seeing in these. We keep calling it a pandemic. It's not, it's a fire.
It feels like
But
a
what we
pandemic.
see, it does. It feels the exact same. But what
Yeah.
we keep seeing in these videos is women saying nobody showed up for them. And
Shocking, right?
I have to just say though, like in my personal time of crisis,
Hmm.
I mean, you were on the phone with me when it was time for me to go.
It was.
My very first thought was my hairstylist. Her name is Schmegs and Bacon on Instagram. She's a famous hairstylist. She's one of the most talented people I know.
Shout
And
out to Schmegs
I've
and Bacon.
Schmegs and Bacon. Yeah, I've worked with her for close to a decade, outside of, it's none of this
Yeah.
content stuff. We professionally work together, and she lives here in the city with her dog, and she doesn't have a vehicle. She walks to work
Oh
every
my
day.
God.
And she was the very first person I thought of. And I text her and I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "I'm not. I want to leave. I'm scared." And I said, "Get your shit together. I'm coming to get you." Because there was no way I was going to leave a woman in this
Oh.
city that didn't have a car. So I went over to Silver Lake, which is not that far from where I live, and I got her and her dog. And then I called my parents, because my parents live a couple hours away. And my
Yeah.
mom is deathly allergic to dogs. And she's like, we can't have a dog here. And so I'm like, okay, we're not going there. And in like a moment's notice, we had to decide what we were going to do. So we called my dear friend, Mimi, and she opened her house up to us, no questions asked. She said, get down here. When we got to her house, she had snacks and pajamas waiting for us. So in her little condo, we had 3 girls, 2 cats, and a dog.
Wow.
And her friend's little sister had just left. So Mimi has been hosting people every single night,
Wow.
feeding us, taking care of us, no questions asked. And in my darkest hour of life alone, the people that showed up for me were women. And so I want to recommend to all the girls and all the single girls in
Yeah.
LA or in any major city anywhere, in times of crisis, seek women for help.
Yes.
Women will show up for you. Women will give you the shirt off your back. And all I know is that from the 3 of us that were together, there wasn't a man in sight to help, not one.
Mhm.
So in
That's
times of
real. That's
crisis,
real.
look for girls, and girls
Yeah.
support each other.
They
I
do.
pulled over and rolled down my window because I saw a girl who I thought was way too young to be on the streets of LA with a
Yeah.
suitcase. And I said, do you need help? Do you need to be
Oh my
taken somewhere?
God. Where was she
And
going?
she said no. I think she was going to the metro. I'm not, because I
Oh,
think that's
Jesus.
the direction she was going, but I
Right.
stopped, I'm like,
Yeah.
and I didn't have room for her, but I wasn't going to leave her,
No,
so
no.
I just feel like, ladies,
Yeah.
in these times of uncertainty, one, it's so dangerous to be a girl in the world anyways. Take care of your sisters.
Take
Take
care
care
of
of
your
your
sisters.
sisters.
I mean, and I think that's what we mean by decentering men. It's not like
Yeah.
I've had some male friends of mine and male suitors be like, "What do you mean decentering men?" Because I post about that a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not like, "Oh, I'm never going to date or be with a man again." It's that like so much of my life, the focus has been, I'm gonna keep it 100, as they used to say. I'm gonna keep it real. My students are cringing by all those terms, but my whole life I was programmed, I'm just going to say it, that I need to find a man because he's going to protect me. Like, who's going to be there for you when X, Y, and Z happens? Like, when
Yeah.
there's a pandemic, when there's a fire, when there's a hurricane, when you're sick. And guess what?
They're nowhere.
They're nowhere.
They're nowhere.
Even when I've supposedly had men in my life, they haven't been there the way my friends have, the way my female friends have. And of course, my parents. I'm lucky enough to have really supportive parents. Like they've been there for me. But
Yeah.
like that, like so blessed for that. But like aside from that, like I'm so happy that I'm no longer programmed that way. And it's taken a lot of years of deprogramming because the patriarchy. But now that I'm free of that, and I know you are too, I really highly recommend that of all women. Like date a man, they're great, marry a man, but
Don't depend on one.
don't depend on one, and
Don't depend on one.
do not leave your sisters behind. Do you know how many friends of mine back in my day when everyone was coupling off and I was still like, hey, they were like, hey, I can't hang out with you as much anymore because I met someone, and it was like, what? You can't do both, and then guess what? You know. They're back. And so let's just stop that. Let's realize that women are always going to be there for you. When you diss them for the man that ends up leaving them, they will be there for you again. So why don't we just stop that little part when we do
Go
that?
straight to your sisters for
Go
help.
straight to your sisters for help.
Yeah.
And so like I don't want to keep you much longer because I know that like it's tough, but you're dealing with stuff and like recuperating from being on the lam from the fire. Is that the term on the lam? I think that's
I
the
don't
word.
know.
I don't
I'm not
know.
sure.
Did I make it up?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Commenters, like, don't be mean, but is that a term on the lam? I'll Google it later. I might have come up with a new phrase. Okay. So aside from looking to other women for help, hashtag women supporting women, how can people help right now? I mean, I think that's one of the most important things. Like, obviously, don't write asshole comments, but what else can people do to help?
So right now we're going to be in the need of resources, right? We're going to need things like water, diapers, baby formula, non-perishable food. So
Okay.
food that can, canned goods and things like that. I've been posting a lot of stuff on my stories, but
Okay,
basic
good.
things. American Red Cross, LA Fire Department.
Okay.
Many churches, check this out for yourself, but yesterday we took some donations in Redondo Beach. They can use blankets, sweaters.
Oh,
This
good.
is not, I want to be clear, this is not a drop off for all of your garbage that you don't want anymore. You should be very specific in the things that you're donating. Also, the animal community needs a
Oh, yeah.
lot of assistance.
How
There
can
are
people help with the animals? I was thinking about that.
ASPCA, I have been
Okay.
sharing a ton of stuff on my story, which
Okay.
Andy Stefanian has been sharing with me. He does a lot of work with PETA. He's been feeding me resources to help all of the animals in the area. So specifically up in the Pacific Palisades area, and then the fire north of us, which I believe is the Kern fire.
I don't even
It's up,
know.
it's up north near Calabasas.
Oh, yeah.
That's horse country,
Oh,
and there's a lot of
yeah.
horses and things like that there. But the shelters right now are being very overrun with dogs and cats that are just
Oh,
missing their moms and dads.
oh God.
So I think a lot of pets tend to run away in these
Yeah.
wild situations. And I'm certain that many of their parents are just looking for them and going to find them. So if you are able to foster or donate dog food or pick a dog up for a day or maybe go and
Uh,
give them for walks, go to ASPCA. Like I said in my story on Instagram right now, there's a ton of resources and
Great.
I plan to continue to post these.
As you post them, start tagging our podcast,
Yes.
Polytoxic Podcast,
Yes.
and then we'll share them in our stories as well. But I think most people follow you and me anyway, so tag me
Yes.
so I can share them.
Yeah. So we need those kind of resources. Another one is stay away from the burn areas.
Yeah.
Do not go there to take your pictures. Do not go there to take your videos. The fire department, which I would like to say, send my most sincere thanks to the LAFD for their tireless work in trying to save all of our communities. I would like to thank their families for allowing them to be away to help us.
Yes.
And we appreciate these people in service so much, but the best way to help them would be to not go to the burn areas because they are trying to get work done. These families need to get to their properties to see what they can salvage, if anything at all. And what that does is that congests our roads, and we need our roads clear right now. We need people to be able to get in and out. And I'm not sure if a lot of people understand this. LA has a lot of mountains and a lot of very narrow roadways, and it's very windy, and getting in and out of the city was the scariest part of this entire ordeal for myself personally. So I would just say stay off the roads. Like if you can, you want to stay home right now anyways, because the air quality is terrible and people are being hospitalized for like smoke inhalation and things like that.
You're wearing a mask, right?
If you're outside, mask up.
And
100%.
N95. And like
100%.
Like those blue masks don't do anything. They didn't do anything. No. Wear the N95s.
Yes, and you can order those off Amazon, like buy in bulk. I'd say to California residents, not that I'm promoting ordering from Amazon. I would not buy the resources from the stores right now. I would try and order things in because we want people to be able to get the things that they need, easy accessibility to that. So yeah, air quality is bad. Mask up, keep your windows closed for sure. For sure. If you can afford an air filter or an air purifier for your places, things like that would be useful. And if you have the luxury of just not being in the city, that you have somewhere that you can go, maybe take a weekend off and go out. That would be my best advice to anybody right now. And I'm not an expert. I'm not claiming.
Yeah, no, we're not experts. We're here just doing people, citizen reporting and just your experiences. And I'm so grateful that you were able to sit down tonight. I know there's so much going on. I know you're still checking to see that you're safe. Keep doing that. But I hope you can sleep tonight in your apartment and feel safe.
I haven't slept a full night since Monday. So,
well, I'm going to let you go and get yourself to sleep. You're going to sleep tonight. And I just want to thank everyone who's watched this episode. We'll be back to our more regular format, hopefully next week. I'm hoping that means that the fires have been fully put out by then and contained. And we'll be back. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be something toxic because there's so many toxic topics happening right now, but they've just been overshadowed by this horrific natural disaster. So stay safe. Everyone who's watching, especially if you live in Los Angeles County, please stay safe and message us if you need anything. We know a lot of people there. Obviously, Vanessa's on the ground. And until next time, We
Just want to say, love you, Los Angeles. We will recover. We're resilient and strong, and stay safe out there, everybody. Love you.
love you all.